Debbie Dean.
Here.
Kathy Hankfist.
Here.
And Melanie Parma has to be excused.
Okay, one in quorum. Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Jim and Kathy, all in favor, say aye. Okay, regular business, first item. Consideration of possible action on development agreement amendment number 2 with GBES Owner 1 LLC for East Town Mall redevelopment at 2350 East Mason Street, tax parcel 21-126-7 and 2350-2390 East Mason Street, tax parcel 21-126-3. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, so here is the East Town Mall parcel we've been talking about. The proposed amendment today from the developer is asking for two things. One, it's consent to sell a portion of the property, which would be on here the northeast corner. It's the building that contains the Petco and the Hobby Lobby. And then they would like to also push back some of their dates that they proposed in the initial development agreement for submission and approval of plans for the redevelopment of the remainder of the site, the 21-126-7 parcel, the main, mall parcel. So with that, talked a little bit with the developer in terms of, the timing for plans. If you do want to discuss in closed session, I can give you a little bit about some of what we discussed in terms of negotiating where we came to this amendment. Would like to offer up one additional amendment for consideration to add to this that I think, really kind of looks at, from the city's perspective, we haven't put money into the project yet, but we would really like to see something get moving forward here. And look, it takes time to put together tenant leases and other things like that, but I think we'd like to also see some progress towards that. So with that, we would recommend adopting the amendment, but also, if a member so chooses, to add an additional language to this. That would add a new provision, Article 3, Section 3.1, new subpara 6, which agreed developer shall execute a long-term lease agreement with a national commercial tenant no later than December 31st, 2018. In short, it's what it's saying is, look, if you're going to submit plans and specifications and do some other things, we'd also like to see some progress towards, landing an anchor tenant out there that really could start to push that redevelopment along. So we as staff would like to recommend adding that additional amendment into the amendment that's proposed before you today.
You said one of the things that you'd like to do is sell a portion on the northeast corner, which is Petco and Hobby Lobby,
Correct.
and they got a buyer?
They believe that they do. I can discuss a little bit more closed session, just kind of the timing on that, but yes.
Okay.
And that's all attached, correct?
Yeah, so it's
So-
multiple parcels, but that whole East Town Mall structure is put together in one building. The Kohl's is not part of it, but the Hobby Lobby, it's separate structures, but they share some common walls.
And so they're proposing to develop just a portion of it.
So the development does not change, the development agreement does not change, and the fact that this whole parcel still has to attain certain values that I placed, I think I talked about in my memo. So these parcels, that still is part of the agreement in terms of what they have to provide in terms of future assessment. So by 1/1 of next year, it's got to be at 7.3 million. By 1/1 of 20, it's got to be at 15.1 million. By 1/1 of 2022, it has to be at 18 million. So there's still the requirement that they need to provide development. Now, most of it is going to probably come from the mall redevelopment piece itself.
Right.
Hobby Lobby, Petco, are pretty set. There'll probably be some improvements that are made in conjunction with it. But really, what's going to accelerate the value is the mall piece, going from what it is now, largely vacant, to occupied with some major tenants.
at one point in time, we had issues with tax base value, right?
Correct.
But we're...
That has all been settled. It was just for tax year 2017.
Oh,
And there was a settlement on that case, and I believe it's settled at $4 million.
okay. This is the big part of it. The values as of January 1st, 19, you know, these three numbers here, that's the key.
Yeah.
And we're solid on that.
Correct, and I think, you know, in terms of going back to the development agreement, our applications, you know, this was a combination of money up front and a pay-go.
Yep.
We have not yet put any money into this because we haven't had the project yet move forward, and that would still be the case, that they'd be required, you know, to come in with plans and get plans approved to move forward that redevelopment before we put any of that money in upfront.
Does the group feel we need to go into closed session? I personally don't, but I mean, if you want to, you, Kathy? No. Any other questions, Kevin?
If somebody would like to offer up the amendment, I think that staff would recommend putting in an amendment about language. Again, developer shall execute a long-term lease agreement with a national commercial tenant no later than December 31st, 2018. I think that would just give, you know, staff and also
Absolutely.
the public some comfort that, look,
Absolutely.
there's progress being made in terms of obligations for seeing some
Absolutely.
activity out here.
Kevin, is the presumption that that tenant would be in the space that they're not selling off?
Correct.
Okay, so the stuff that they're selling off, that doesn't
Doesn't count.
qualify?
No.
Okay. And do
Yes.
do these assessment numbers, do they then continue to apply only to the space that the developer owns? Meaning, if they sell this piece off, that will not contribute to the value?
No, so they both will still contribute to the value. The new owner of the Hobby Lobby Petco piece won't be responsible for the obligations. The obligations will still fall upon the original developer. So GBES. So GBES is going to be cognizant of who they're selling to because, look, ultimately, you can't tear that piece down or you can't get rid of that value because that's going to help contribute to what they're guaranteeing us for that value. So both pieces together still contribute to those numbers that they're making here.
So is there any need to bring this third party into the contract?
No, because, I'll give another case. There's other cases where we've done development agreements where ultimately the developer is not the long-term owner. And in some cases, they've assigned rights to subsequent buyers, and other times they've relieved people of those rights. In terms of the city is not, RDA and the city aren't as concerned in terms of, I guess, that third-party relationship. That's more upon, look, we have one contract with the developer, and what the developer does after that, the developer is taking the risk in terms of selling that piece off. And a case in point would be, you know, the rail yard where we talked about, you know, funding additional townhomes. Well, ultimately, DDL is not going to be owning all of those townhomes, so it's up to DDL to come up with contracts as they transfer those properties that as you purchase this property, maintain your property, pay your taxes, that's a separate contract. At the end of the day, if that you're not meeting it, then it comes back to DDL and that impacts our relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's preferable that we just have, from RDA in a city, there's one
Right.
point of contact. I think the other piece we did this with was 1901 Main, project by GB Real Estate Investments, where ultimately developed the
Yes.
Amelia Dental, Arby's,
Yep.
the bank, but those were put off to or sold off to other entities, but the agreement is just with the first entity, the one who basically kind of put the money in first.
So do you think they're looking to sell this off because they need some additional cash to make the rest of the project work?
That's a closed session
Okay.
question, yeah.
And it's just
Yeah, and
more of a
I
question.
don't want to
It's-
speculate.
That's good.
You're
And I don't know
for
if
them.
it's necessary to have the answer to
Right.
that, but.
Mhm.
Good try.
questions, comments? Do we know what the motion is that Kevin's asking for? You got it, Kevin?
To approve the development agreement, Amendment 2 with DBS owner for the Easttown Mall redevelopment, subject to minor and legal.
Technical revisions. This would be a substantive one, so I'd want this one put into the
Yep.
record
So we want
first.
to,
So I'd move to amend the amendment before you adopt as amended.
Right, we
Okay.
want to add that, well,
Do you need to have an alder on this?
No.
Okay. I just know others
Right.
do.
so
Correct, yeah.
I make a motion that we amend it so that if, as part of the agreement, a major long-term tenant is signed by the end of the year, December 31st,
Okay.
2018.
Yep. I mean, I read it twice here, so I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's
it's fine.
captured in.
okay.
I'll second.
Motion by Kathy and a second by Jim. Any other questions or comments? If not, we shall vote.
Did you get it out? Yep.
There we go.
It's like somebody named Parker raises dogs.
Passed unanimously.
Very good. Thanks for your hard work, Kevin.
Sure. Well, I appreciate consideration on this. Again, just
That's
the
definitely-
timing, this can go to council next Monday. Our next council meeting probably won't be held December 4th, so I just think this provides developer a little more opportunity to be able to move on this and make something.
And your addition makes lots of sense, and we appreciate that.
Sure.
Yes.
All right. One other agenda item. Consideration of possible action, sale of real property at Washington Street, tax parcel 15-168. Are you also good?
Yes, that is me also. For this one, because it's negotiating a sale, I'd
Okay.
like to go into closed session for this one to discuss where we're at and some alternatives that we might have.
So
Okay.
Jim, you have the honor of reading the verbiage.
Okay, so I would make a motion that the authority convene a closed session pursuant to sections 19.85 sub 1 sub E Wisconsin statutes for the purposes of deliberating or negotiating the sale of public property, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business as necessary for competitive or bargaining reasons. The authority may thereafter reconvene an open session pursuant to section 19.85 sub 2 Wisconsin statutes to report the results of the closed session and consider the balance of the agenda.
Okay, so the right way to do this is that Jim makes the motion, and Ms. second.
Need a second, then we'll do a roll call.
Okay, Jim make the motion to go to closed session. Deb, second by Debbie.
Correct.
And then-
Carrie Delvaux,
Yes.
Kathy Inkfest,
Yes.
Debbie Dean,
Yes.
Jim Bloomer.
Yes.
Okay, we are closed.
Jim Bloomer.
Yes.
We're back in regular session.
All right, so I want a motion to continue
And we'll wait
negotiations.
till he comes back.
See if Jeff's in.
If he's there.
I didn't think you
So
got
I make a
got
motion
rid of me that easy.
to continue negotiation on the property tax parcel 15.168 on Washington Street.
And I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion by Jim, second by Kathy to continue negotiations with the potential development. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, we set it for the report. Okay, good. And no other questions or comments, then we shall vote. I think we'll vote. Oh. There we go. Thanks, Lisa. Very exciting. Good luck, Kevin.
Thanks.
Won't go into any more detail on that. Good luck. All right,
Passed unanimously.
thanks.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? If not,
I think we had some previous discussion, but maybe, I think we'll track to set our next meeting then for November 27th.
yes.
That would put us in line then to get things on the agenda for the December 4th meeting.
Right.
And then I guess to be determined on our December meeting, there's some standalone things we're going to need to meet or not.
But
Okay.
for right now, it's December 11th.
Correct. Yep, and we'll just leave it on.
Yeah. Okay.
But we're changing it to 27.
We're changing
November.
November 13th
Yeah.
to the
I got you.
27th.
I got you. You were talking about December one, so.
We'll keep December on the books, but
Right.
we'll cancel
Right, but it may
the-
change.
Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Jim, second by Kathy. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You're adjourned. Thanks, guys, for coming in.
Thanks for the coffee, Cheryl.
Yeah, no problem.